This car market has been very difficult for used car dealer auctions just like this one right here. And today I'm going to talk to one of the operators to tell you what kind of difficulty they're going through right now. So we're going out through your auction right here, and every week is a grind for you guys because you got to, I mean, we see the truck and trailer right here, like we've got to get cars in and out week after week after week after week. What does that look like on a daily basis? How much of a frantic rush is that to get these cars in and out?
It depends on the week, but it can be frantic, especially 2 days before the sale, and you get somebody call and say, hey, by the way, I got 20 cars, come pick them up. That can be a little crazy, but we've got this truck, a rollback, another truck and trailer, and some old drivers that I think you've interviewed on the channel before that go out and jump in the cars, and we just send as many people there as we can and load them up and bring them back.
So you guys actually go and get cars for the...
We do.
There's no other auctions that do that.
Yeah. I mean, I know some do, but it's rarer anyway. So, but yeah, we go out and get the cars, bring them here, and then try to get the inventory logged in, which is sometimes can be a little bit of a headache. Last week was a crazy week, had 180 cars, and I think 50 or 60 of them came in Wednesday afternoon. So trying to get ready for Thursday. So it was all hands on deck, logging cars in, getting everything written on the windows, making sure the stuff's in halfway decent straight lines, and somewhat organized.
So what do you think, this is probably a chicken or the egg kind of question, but what's more important to your business? Is it the buyers or the sellers?
Man, it's both. It really is. Like, the car business is crazy. I've only been in the car business for 5 years now with these guys. I've known Matt and Ben for a long time, and they asked me to come in and help out with some things. And it is really interesting to learn. Sellers are super important. Buyers are super important. One of the things we try to do is just do it the right way. The car business isn't always an honest business, but if you run it as honest as possible and hold your sellers accountable and hold your buyers accountable, both parties can walk away and be happy, and that's what we really strive for. I want everybody to be happy.
Right.
So as far as one being more important than the other, losing a seller hurts. It hurts big time. We've lost sellers before that. You get new management that comes in and they took their cars to a different auction, and they just take all their stuff to a different auction. That's who came in. Sometimes they come back around. So it hurts to lose a buyer and a seller. Obviously, if it's a big seller that's bringing 20, 30 cars a week, that can sting. But if it's a buyer that buys 20 or 30 cars a week, it can sting. So, and it adds up. You want all your buyers to be happy, and you don't want to lose 20 little guys or one big guy or vice versa.
So we're seeing a lot of stubbornness from a lot of these franchise dealers where they're not moving off prices off their new stuffs, and it feels like they almost don't even want to sell their cars.
Right.
And do you feel like you're seeing that on the wholesale level? Because that's what we're dealing with right here, is all wholesale cars. Do you feel like you're seeing that stubbornness creep into the wholesale levels where, okay, maybe they're holding on to cars a little longer than they should? A lot of no sales happening is what I'm seeing from the buyer side. Do you feel like that's happening here at your auction too?
Absolutely, and from the seller side, I think there's a lot of people getting aggressive on their trade-in prices to get a front-end deal done, and putting too much money in a car and sending it to us and hoping that we can do the unimaginable and make an $8,000 car bring 10 grand.
Right.
So it's kind of frustrating sometimes, and then they just have to sit on it until they can mark it down and write it down a little bit and to get it going.
So what's the dialogue with those sellers? Because I'm assuming there's some franchise dealers that are a little bit more stubborn than others. What's the conversation that happens when you have this $8,000 car? They keep no sale, and they want $10,000. What's the dialogue when that happens over like 3 weeks?
Most of the used car managers that we're dealing with, or the GMs at the store, they get it and they understand that they kind of screwed up on the front end to get a deal done. But they're still looking at their books and they can't say, I can't justify a $2,000 loss on this, but I might be able to next month. So let's just keep running it, see what it does, and then next month I'll be able to write it down a little bit and we can make it disappear.
Interesting, because I talk about this a lot, especially at this auction, is that, okay, I see a car running 4 weeks in a row and they don't sell it and it brings the same money over and over and over again, but you're saying that there's an element of them saying, okay, well, I just can't take that loss this month.
Right.
What does that look? Is it because they have to meet certain numbers as a manager?
Yeah, I think so. It's certain numbers from that standpoint. Sometimes they make a bunch of money on another car too, and they're like, hey, I can pack these together and make, take a little from this one, put it on this one, and make everything okay.
So it's just accounting. That's all they're doing out here.
I think it's just accounting. And every business does it different. We have sellers that are really savvy, really smart, and they know the front end deal, and they put the right money in cars, and at the end of the sale they're high-fiving because they made some money on their cars.
Okay, awesome. You don't do the traditional auction where you have just a one static place. You actually have a mobile auction company, meaning you guys go to a bunch of different dealerships to auction auctions. So how many auctions do you guys have?
So we have this location, which is our mothership or home base location. We have 4 other mobile sales that we do throughout the month.
So when the sale actually hits, is it all about preparation getting up to it? Does that make the auction run smoothly for you guys, or is it still kind of frantic?
We've dialed it in somewhat where we know what sellers are going to be here. We try to get the people that are going to be at the auction, get their cars run first, because they've talked about if bids and what those are, and I hate if bids.
Yeah.
So trying to get their cars run through first, so we know these guys are going to be here, so their cars are going to be run up front.
Right.
And the people that aren't going to be here, we'll move them to the back a little bit. So we've kind of dialed in who's going to be here, who's not going to be here, what we can expect, and what order we should run the cars in.
Okay, so it's really all about preparation throughout the week. That's going to make your auction day, because it's all about the whole week prep is all about that one day.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, we sell 150 cars in an hour and a half.
So I know that you just opened up one recently in Greenville, South Carolina, and it's very tough, I would assume, because you guys are small business, right? To be able to cut through the noise of all the other auctions to be able to get buyers to your auction. How much of a struggle has that been, especially for your newer auctions?
Absolutely, especially to enter a new market that you've never been in before.
Right.
If we had a mobile sale that was 30 miles from here, that's not a big deal because it's all the same buyers. When you start going 2-3 hours away, it's a little bit more of a struggle to bring a lot of your buyers that come to this sale to another one. So it's a lot of grassroots, a lot of cold calls. We got people on the road that go and see new dealers. We put Matt and Ben, the owners, are out there on the road sometimes visiting people, and then just talking to the dealership. Who did you used to sell to in the past? Like, give us some of your buyers that you recognize from some of your reassignments and things like that. Anything you can to name drop, get some contacts and touches. Marketing's all about getting as many touches as you can with these people. So postcards, phone calls, snail mail, whatever we can do, email.
So they've got an auction in Greenville, South Carolina. The auction that they're running after this video post is on a Wednesday, when you run it.
Yep.
I will go to that auction. If you want to come talk to me, if you're a dealer, get registered. Do they get any kind of CQA discount?
Absolutely. They come and mention this video. We're going to do a free buyer fee.
Okay, so. Good. Get registered. Go to their website. I'll put a link in the description below. Click on it. Get registered with them. Let them know that you saw this video, whatever. We'll get you a free buyer fee, and come talk to me if you want to be on camera. You can do that, whatever. We'll be out there that Wednesday, and I'll put it all down in the description for you. As a used car dealer auction, what are your biggest struggles right now with this car market?
So for me, I joined the sale in 2019, right before COVID, and the world kind of changed in 2020, and everything was really good in the car industry for everybody. Inventory was hot, prices were hot, you couldn't keep anything on the lot. That was really good, and I feel like we're starting to get back to what was the old normal.
Okay.
Ups and downs with tax season, summer, vacations, so we're kind of getting into that summer series right now, or summertime anyway. People are on vacations, kids are out of school, people just aren't doing as much as far as buying cars. A lot of new car dealers have a ton of inventory. I'm sure you've talked a lot about that.
Right.
I'm not seeing special financing is just starting to happen, rebates, those kind of things. So a lot of people that are smart with money, in my opinion, are kind of holding off. See a ton of cars on their lot.
So you feel like that's hurting like the buyers now, so that means the new car dealers, they aren't selling as many.
Absolutely, they're not selling as many, and that's where we're getting our inventory from.
Right.
So that's kind of slowing down a little bit for us. And then same thing on the used car side. I think a lot of dealers are saying they're just a little bit slow right now. So it's starting to feel like summer of 2019 and just the normal summertime.
So do you feel like there's a weakness now then from your sellers? They're not bringing as many cars, and then you're getting a weakness from also used car dealers like me who aren't selling as much, so we're not willing to raise our hand quite as high.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's kind of the perfect storm.
Yep.
And it really feels like kind of what the old days were, kind of the new normal, which was the old normal.
Let's go back to, so you have these new auctions that are popping up, y'all trying to expand. When you get that in place, it seems like in the beginning it's probably more important to have the sellers than it is the buyers, because you have the cars, the buyer's going to come, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So in that case, but it seems like as your sale develops, maybe do the buyers become more important, because then you're established. You're like, okay, well, the sellers can bring these cars. They know they're going to sell them.
They do, and it really is kind of a chicken and an egg. It comes down to inventory, what cars you have. We've had some of these mobile sales where we've only had 40 or 50 cars at a sale, or maybe less sometimes. I think our sweet spot, we really only have like 70 to 80 cars. You get more than that, the auction gets really long at some of these mobile sales. One lane.
Right.
If you have not enough, you have one or two big buyers come in, they gobble up all the inventory. The little guys are in here trying to get one or two cars. They're fighting, 20 guys fighting over 5 cars. Price goes through the roof, and they go, you can't buy cars here, and they don't come back.
Yeah, and I've dealt with that experience myself going to some of these smaller auctions where, okay, the niche that I'm in is $5,000 and under, and if there's anything halfway decent, because I don't have a floor plan, we don't do extra fees or whatever, I can actually make less money because I do volume, so I can pay more money than a lot of these other dealers. And I found situations where, okay, dealers have talked to me and said, I'm not even going to that auction anymore if you're going there because I can't pay what you're going to pay for it.
Yep.
So you could have a buyer like me come in and ruin a whole niche for cars. But if you have that one buyer that's easy to work with and he's buying all the stuff anyway,
yeah,
is that not better for the auction? Or
until he goes on vacation one week
and
he doesn't come there,
yeah.
And that's something that we've seen that before. We're like, oh, so-and-so's going to be here, so-and-so's going to be here, and then they don't show up, and you're like, oh, crap. No, you got enough little guys that you gobble it up, but those are the days you start to go, man, there's not a lot of people here. And that's when we hit the ground and just try to get more buyers. And again, talk to the seller about getting better and more inventory. The right number. We don't want 120 cars. We don't want 40. We want somewhere in the middle.
Now, how much can they control that? Because they can control like what they're paying for trade-ins, but they can't really control what's coming into them. Right?
Absolutely. And sometimes it's dumb luck. Did they have a good month and they have a lot of cars? Did they have a bad month? It really just depends. So, and we've talked sometimes, do we skip a sale and bank some of these? I'd love to do that because then I can get 70 or 80 cars and know that I'm going to have a good sale. But the seller's like, well, now I got to sit on this inventory for 2 more weeks.
That sounds scary from the auction side. Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. So it's a balancing act, and just having that conversation, being outward with your buyers to let them know what to expect. Try to get our run list online so people know what's going to be there, and get on the phone. If you're into the under $5,000 car, that's your niche, and I know I got a bunch of them, I better be on the phone and calling you and say, hey, this is a sale for you.
2 years ago, it's no secret, car market was in a bad place for a consumer, meaning that car dealers were getting whatever they wanted for all of these cars. And for the auction space, for the wholesale side, you guys weren't getting a ton of trade-ins, but from what I remember, stuff was bringing crazy money, and there was not a no sale to be had. Is that a big struggle for a lot of these sellers to be able to adapt and go to something different? Is that a struggle that you're seeing with your company because no sales coming through? Because you're still doing the same amount of work for each one and every one of those no sales versus a sale, but you're just not making any money on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And a no sale is more work because we got to sell it twice potentially. So,
right.
So that's a little bit of a struggle. The market's just changed so much in the last few years, and I think I've started to feel this like last fall.
Yeah.
That it was kind of coming around and starting to go back to normal, and then we had tax season and everything was great again and everybody was high-fiving and making money, and then here we are heading into summer. It's starting to get slow again, and I think just getting these sellers to adapt, to understand what the market is, and a lot of people don't know what the market is, so they're struggling to figure out what to put in those trade-ins and stuff like that. So they're guessing based off of last year's numbers. Last year's numbers don't work anymore.
Right. So as far as your no sales, you talk about how long will you guys let a seller, let's say it's just one of your mid-level sellers, not one of your great ones, not one of the worst ones, but how many weeks will you let a seller no sell a car when they're really far apart before you have a conversation with them? It's like, all right, this car is not going to move. We need to do something different.
Yep. If one of our sellers, we're pretty loyal to our sellers, and sometimes they're kind of hard to get, so you bend over backwards for them from time to time. When we start to struggle with that is we get a seller that'll bring a car here, it's a no sale, and they say bring it back because we're going to try to put it on our lot or run it to another sale, and then they call the next week and say pick it back up.
Yep.
And all of a sudden my truck's running 3-4 times for the same car over a few weeks. We have a conversation then and just say, hey, like it either needs to stay here or go away. But if a car sits here, it's not the end of the world if it runs 4 or 5 weeks. I hate to see it, but like I said, sometimes they got to get to whatever date it is in their inventory, their accounting, to be able to mark something down and get it done, or prove a point to whoever did the front end deal to say, look, we ran it 4 times, this is what it's worth.
Yeah, you paid too much for it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
And I feel like we're getting in that situation now where a lot of these trade-in values we've seen get hammered over the last 6 months. And I think it's the realization of, okay, dealers like myself, we can't pay these ridiculous fees, these prices anymore. So we're out. I mean, you bid and it brings $3,000 and you need $5,000. I can't even sell it on my lot for $5,000. So I think there's a big realization, and then they have to talk to their front end office. There's a lot of people they got to go through to say, okay, it's not bringing this money here, so you got to not pay that money for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And not all sellers are going to be Again, a lot more sellers are savvy. They know the market. Some of your high volume guys and things like that, they understand what to put into a car, and they still make money when they come here and they're still happy. But everybody has problem cars. Everybody screws up, and all of a sudden, maybe your guy didn't walk down the side of the car with all the dents on it when he was doing it.
Right.
So, but I'd say it's half and half. I think a lot of these guys are still trying to get their feet under them to figure out where we are in the world, in the market. Perfect.
That's fine. Yeah.
Just figure out where the market's going today, and just figure it out.
Let's go to the car market side of things right now. What, in your crystal ball, your ultimate vision, your wisdom of seeing the car market behind the scenes, let's talk about the wholesale side. What fixes the wholesale scene where we have zero no sales? We have cars that are going through, buyers feel like they get a good deal, sellers feel like they're making money too, because right now we're not getting that. We're having buyers that are talking about small used car dealers that are upset about the prices that we're having to pay for these cars, and we're having sellers that are stubbornly hanging on to cars longer than they need to. What fixes all of this?
I think it's supply and demand is what it's going to come down to, and like we were talking a little bit earlier, just about special financing, rebates, those kind of things. The more that the manufacturers are supplying those to the franchise dealers, and they can provide a good price and product for their retail customer and get their trade in, it's going to bring more volume, and it's all going to just trickle down.
So we need velocity of money.
We really do.
Yeah, we just need transactions is what we need.
And through COVID, everybody I know bought a new car during COVID when prices were crazy.
Yeah.
And, they're just now starting to come through that 4 and 5 year cycle where they're getting the itch to say, okay, maybe it's time for another one. But they're going out and they're saying, man, I was upside down on this one for 2 years. And I think they're just a little bit wiser with their money right now and just looking for that deal.
So I like to relate the auctions to go back to, a lot of people understand the housing market more than they understand the car market, but your auctions really aren't selling cars, they're doing transactions. So it's like they're the real estate agents of the car market, because you have a seller and you buyer, and the way you make money is putting those two together. So really, you don't care where the prices go. You just need volume.
It really is. And, everybody during COVID, when everything was hot, everybody said, oh, you guys got to be ecstatic. Cars are bringing through the roof. And
You're not selling as many cars.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, our fees are tiered. Like, I might make $10 more on some cars, but, like, I just want everybody to be happy. I want the buyers to be happy and the sellers to be happy, because I want the volume. We make just as much money on a, not just as much, but close to enough money on a cheap car as you do a $30,000 car. I'd rather sell
20 of those,
all day long than a $30,000 car. And you're excited to have a beautiful car here, and it brings some butts and everything, and some of the higher end buyers. But it's our bread and butter. It's kind of that 10,000 and under. I mean, that's why you're here. So
really, I mean, everyone that I've talked to franchise managers, I've talked to buyers, consumers now, I've talked to other small used independent dealers, I've talked to auction, I've talked to Ben and Matt, the owners of this company, I've talked to everyone. It seems like the thing that makes this market work is volume. We need cars to move, and the way that we get cars to move is, it seems like everyone gives the same answer. We need manufacturers to produce more affordable cars.
Correct.
So right now, people can't afford what the offerings are at this moment. So we really need prices on the top level, from the top level, to come down.
And the price of money. Special financing goes a long way. When you're, same thing if you're buying a house and your interest rate's 7.5%, 8%, and you're getting out of a house that you had 3% in, that's going to sting. And it's the same thing in a car when you bought one with 0% financing, and now they're coming in and saying 5 or 6 or wherever it's at. I think special financing will help that, from the manufacturers.
So that's what fixes this whole entire market. We just need money to change hands. That's all. That's all.
It really is.
And that'll do it.
Crystal ball done.
I think that's good.
Cool.
All right.